Fans of DM Canright never tell you the whole truth. And being as a lot of his fans are Catholic, that's not surprising. The Catholic Church is just a cult, just based on lies from the Pope and lies from the so-called church fathers, um, lies from priests and cardinals and bishops. It's all based on tradition, which is pretty much worthless unless it goes by the Bible. Um, in any case, fans of Mr. Canright's books don't ever want to tell you the whole story behind Mr. Canright and how actually before his death he was wanting to return to the Adventist Church because he knew that the Adventist teaching was the truth. And he had come to a point in his life where he had fought it for so long and even going against his conscience, which is fatal. This poor man, he went through a lot there in the end, right in the ending years of his life. This poor man went against his conscience and kept teaching against God's church when he knew better, when he wanted to come home, but he had lost faith and he thought it was too late. And the bad thing is, he died in a condition that is more than likely lost. Now, I'm not judging the man. I'm not going to do that. But when somebody loses faith like that, that's a bad sign. It's not a very hopeful situation for salvation. But let's listen to this excerpt by a woman named Carrie Johnson, who was Canright's secretary, and let's hear the real story behind Canright and how Ellen White predicted his downfall, thus just proving more that she is a true prophet.
I was Canright's secretary. By Carrie Johnson. Page 162. 20. The fading image of P. M. Canright. While associating occasionally with his Adventist friends, attending their meetings, when he could, and declaring to them that he would like to come back to the church but that it was too late, Mr. Canright at the same time kept up a bold front with the Baptists and with such members of his now scattered family, as he saw from time to time. Naturally he wanted to be thought well of. Since rumors of his softening attitude toward the Adventists could be devastating to the sale of his books, Mr. Canright, in an endeavor to maintain a consistent image, kept affirming and reaffirming his position that he never regretted withdrawing from the Adventist denomination. His book, The Lord's Day from Neither Catholics Nor Pagans, was published in late 1915. The title page states that this is an answer to Seventh-day Adventism on this subject. Canright sent a copy, for critical reading to an old Adventist friend, Elder J. H. Morrison. Morrison was about to attend a session of the Lake Union Conference to be held in Battle Creek, March 7 to 12, 1916. He wrote Canright, inviting him to attend, and proposed that they could examine the book together there. Morrison was happy to receive the following reply. Your hope to be at Battle Creek next week decides me to go there too. Be sure to come. It will be our last chance to see each other. You are 75 and I am 76. I have read your criticisms with deep interest and profit. It is only this way that the real facts and truth can be found. Page 163. I have 8 of the very oldest publications of Seventh-day Adventists, from 1847 to 1851. So far, as I know, there are 5 of them which no one else has. See note 1. Would like you to see them. Come, if you can. Your old friend. Point. Same as 40 years ago. DM. C. Mr. Canright's reunion with Elder J. H. Morrison was a happy one. The two attended the session of the Lake Union Conference held in the Tabernacle. Of this Elder Morrison wrote in his privately published book, issued a few months after the visit, see note 2, we met and visited as friends. He then described a very serious accident that happened to Canright, a few minutes after our last interview, a sad and it was feared a fatal accident befell him. He fell and broke an arm and a leg. After he was taken to the hospital, I visited him every day, while I stayed in Battle Creek, pages 2, 3. Seemingly, the incident was of no interest to the public press, for no report of the accident appeared. There are some discrepancies regarding details of the occurrence. All agree that there was such an accident, and as to its seriousness, the hospital records sustain this. As I visited with Canright's niece, Marie Wright, a few years after his death, she told me that her uncle, Dudley Canright, carried a key to the basement door of the Baptist church in Battle Creek, where he had a desk, and was privileged to come and go at will. Mr. Cornell told me of this, while I was working with Mr. Canright. Not having been to the church for some time, he wasn't aware that extensive remodeling was underway and that the steps leading down from the basement door had been removed. That Friday evening, March 10, 1916, Canright stepped inside the door and fell to the basement, landing on top of a heap of rubbish. He lay there badly injured until the following Sunday morning, when he was found by the janitor, more dead than alive. Sanitarium reports specify that he was admitted for care on Monday, March 13th. This would tend to substantiate his. Page 164. Niece's memory that he was taken first to the city hospital, then transferred to the Battle Creek Sanitarium Hospital at his own request. Other reports indicate that he fell on the stairs of the tabernacle. While the exact location of the accident may be disputed, the facts are that, in mid-March, 1916, D.M. Canright sustained a fall, was badly hurt, and some thought fatally injured. The contemporary Morrison publication and the Battle Creek Sanitarium records sustain this fact. Several operations ensued during his stay of more than 2 months at the sanitarium. His leg was amputated. Mr. Canright suffered intensely, but made gradual recovery. Elder Morrison, who had intended to review with Canright criticisms made at the author's request of the Lord's Day book, informs us that, because he was suffering I thought I better withhold them, and as he lingered and suffered so much I have never sent them to him. He proposed to place them in Canright's hand at a later time. It is obvious that this was done, for he printed his report in October, 1916. In his criticism Morrison pointed out many weaknesses, inaccuracies, and misused historical quotations in Canright's book. He had occasion to comment on Mr. Canright's assertion that he felt the Lord had especially prepared him to write it, through his experience of 28 years in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He asked what Canright had accomplished during his subsequent 28 years spent in opposing the church. He dwelled on Canright's repeated prediction that the church would soon go to pieces. Perhaps Morrison's language is a bit strong, but it makes his point clear. We quote again from his 1916 book, as follows. When you left us we had about 20,000 members, we have over 120,000 now. We had 2 or 3 advanced schools, now we have nearly 100. We had about 25 teachers, now we have about 700. We had then 2 or 3 sanitariums, now we have over 45. We had only about 12 doctors, now we have about 140. We had in our advanced schools about 500 enrolled, now we have about 9,000. Point. Elder, you must call for help, if you expect to down us. Now, I do not offer this, as proof that we are right. I give it to you for your reflection, when you are thinking, how God has so signally prepared you for this work. First by making you a great and mighty man to build it up. Page 165. So he could give you a special commission and work for the rest of your life to tear it down, as you say, you are prepared to answer them, us, as no other man could. Now, Elder, do you not think that the law of consistency would compel you to conclude, if God had any hand in it whatever, instead of allowing you to start off such a huge system of error the first half of your life, then authorize you to tear it down, that he would have set you to cultivating fruits instead? Surely God would have been further on in his work, if your book is his work. You firmly believe God has wonderfully preserved you for this work. What does this faith of yours say I was preserved for? I am only about 1 year behind you in age and I still have both eyes to see and both limbs to walk, for which I am thankful. But how do you know, but God intended you to feel, that in the loss of that eye that you should realize that you had lost half of your spiritual eyesight, and that you were in great danger of being dumped into the ditch? How do you know but he intended you to have more sober and deeper reflections, that you were treading in a dangerous path by allowing that accident to befall you, which occasioned the loss of your limb a few minutes after our very interesting visit and interview, the first after long years of separation. Some correspondence with Elder Canright, pages 115, 116,